Welcome back, everyone. Good evening. It is a very beautiful, bright Monday evening, 8 p.m. Well, gone 8 p.m. now here in Spain, 7 p.m. back at home. We are waiting. Ben Habib is here, I believe. Sorry we're late, everyone. Let me just try and get Ben in. Ben, it says your device is not connected, but we're getting there. We've had a few technical problems trying to get Ben on the show tonight. What did they say, Richard? Don't work with politicians and people called Richard.
Yeah, exactly. And no plan survives contact with the enemy. So I just wonder, has Nigel got the gremlins on this? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, dear, because we have got one hell of a show waiting for you here.
Man.
Ben, the message that I'm getting, it says you need to connect your mic and cam before I can add you to the screen. So, Richard, if you just want to carry on waffling for a moment, I'm just going to send Ben a couple of instructions, mate.
Yeah, well, I think, Paul, to be honest with you, I think what's happened in the last 24, 48 hours it's been like a whirlwind romance. I mean, it's had everything, hasn't it? Basically, Ben has.
Hey,
here we go.
Sorry, Richard. He's here.
I can stop talking now.
Good evening, Ben.
If technology is a prerequisite for saving the country, I think we're in deep trouble.
You're right.
Oh, Ben, that's funny. You're late, but what intro. Right, look, Ben,
I'm really
first
sorry.
of all,
I'm really sorry.
No, it's not your fault, Ben. It's just technical things happen. First of all, Ben, thank you for coming on. Massive congratulations on the official launch of your new party, AdvanceUK. Welcome back to the show. Now, I know that you are a super busy man. I know that you've got another big interview in, I think, 20 minutes or so. Is that right?
Well, they've delayed it till 7:45. So
fantastic.
If people aren't bored by me.
Well, the questions that I've got in front of me, Ben, and you were very brave and said to me, Paul, we'll just do it live. Well, Ben, you asked for it, my friend, and you've got it. So,
well, thank you. I much prefer it, and I'm very grateful to both you and Richard for having me on. And I much prefer to be grilled without it being, mollycoddled. Give it to me. Hit me.
Well, I tell you what it is now. There's literally, Ben, there has literally been hundreds and hundreds, if not 1,000, questions that have come into my inbox overnight for you. But what I've managed to do, I hope, is condense them into an interview or a set of questions. I hope we'll cover just about everything or as much as we possibly can in such a short time. So let's get straight into it. Richard's got one or two questions as well. The first one is a really simple one. Why do we need a new political party for the United Kingdom?
So we all know the problems with the Conservative Party. So I'm not going to discuss them. We had, including myself, great hopes of Reform UK. And Reform UK, we thought, would put the country first, deliver an independent, prosperous, proud United Kingdom, put up our borders, make laws for the country, effectively adopt a patriotic agenda. But Farage, who is a consummate campaigner, a phenomenal political expedient, is the way I see him, pivots this way and that way in order to curry favor with the electorate as best he can. And in the pursuit of power, which he says is a prerequisite for delivering his policies, which of course is a statement that is obviously true, but in the pursuit of power, he is compromising that which we all know, and I think most people listening to me now know, to be the policies and the approach that's required to save the country. And there's no point getting into power, in my view, if you've prostituted your belief system in order to achieve it. And we know he's prostituting at least the belief system that you and I hold, that we hold, because he is taking into his midst, former Conservatives who are effectively Liberal Democrats. He's actually taking Liberal Democrats themselves into the party. He's taking former members of the Labour Party into his party. He's producing policies this way and that way. He talks about championing the working class and so on, but actually he's doing stuff that would increase the size of the welfare state, which would make things even more difficult for British people. He talks about the need to enforce our borders, but he's not in favor of deporting everyone here that is illegal. He says he cares about the culture of this country, but he's not concerned about the rate of demographic change. And then, of course, these are all symptoms of the problem with Farage. But then fundamentally, and for me, it's fundamentals are as important as the symptoms, perhaps more so. He doesn't stand for the nation state of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. I mean, Richard knows this, and I'm sure you do, Paul, and others, that he has thrown Northern Ireland under a bus. He didn't stand with me in fighting the protocol. He says a united Ireland is inevitable. He says he's perfectly happy to share a stage with Mary Lou MacDonald, who's an apologist for the IRA. And if he can't define the democratic unit that comprises the United Kingdom, how the devil is he going to restore our democracy? You've got to first identify what it is you're standing for. If he doesn't understand that he stands for all of us, he's nowhere. And of course, then when it comes to democracy, he talks about the need to champion the people, but he won't afford democracy to people in his own party. He holds his own membership in contempt. Goodness knows how he holds the electorate. I mean, no doubt in contempt. He talks about the need for freedom of speech, but yet anyone who tweeted anything that remotely offends him 2 or 3 years ago is thrown out of his party on their ear. He talks about the need for equality in front of the law. And I suspect we will talk about Tommy Robinson, but he hasn't got the courage to say that Tommy Robinson was a political prisoner. That a civil case was elevated to a criminal case and he was incarcerated. And as I've said many times on this program, it doesn't matter what you think about Tommy Robinson, the man. It doesn't matter whether you find him offensive at a personal level, whether you find his language too colorful for you or his past too colorful for you. You've got to separate those sensibilities from what's going on and understand that actually it's the political manifestation of Tommy Robinson that is being shut down. And that is not equality in front of the law. That is two-tier criminal justice, which he's prepared to accept exists, but not when it comes to protecting, as it were, our own. So he doesn't believe in the nation state. He doesn't practice democracy. He doesn't practice freedom of speech, and he doesn't practice equity under the law. So what the hell does Farage represent? And sorry, that was a very long-winded answer, but we need a political force that understands these very basic things. These what I've said should not be the preserve of the few. It should be the guiding principles of all political parties and all governments. They have to believe in this country. They have to believe in democracy, freedom of speech, without which you can't have democracy. They have to believe in equity under the law, but they don't. And Farage is part of that problem. So we need a new political force.
Absolutely. Ben, thank you for that. I mean, I'd love to come back to you on quite a bit of that, just for devil's advocate purpose. And, but unfortunately, we're not going to have the time to do all that tonight. What's the new party going to look like? And who's on board at the moment? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
What I think is, again, it shouldn't be unique, but what I think is unique about this new party is that it is by the people and for the people. It is entirely democratic. The members can remove. It's a company limited by guarantee, which is a non-profit entity. It's the appropriate form of construction for an entity which wants to have members. And the members effectively control the party. And it has a board of directors, but the members with a simple majority can remove any board director, including the leader. So they can remove anyone they don't like at any time by a simple poll of the membership. That is unique in British politics. It shouldn't be, but it is. But I think what is particularly good about this political party is that it has something called a college. And the college will number up to 100 people, and they will be members of the party. But their job will be to hold the party executive, the party leadership, the operations, if you like, of the party to account, to make sure that the party delivers in its mission statement, in its political philosophy, that it doesn't deviate, that it doesn't become subject to the kind of political expediency which Farage, pursues. And The members of the college will not be allowed to be paid by the party. They must not have their interests skewed by pounds being put in their back pockets. And they are not able to stand for office. They are not able to be MPs or councillors or anything. They must be purely independent. And what I want in the college are the great minds of our movement, the fearless speakers of our movements, who will work with the executive, holding the executive to account, but work with the executive to create the policies to deliver the mission statement, which is effectively saving our country and our democracy and our culture, and work with the executive to deliver that, so that we have a balance of power, if you like, between the executives and the political philosophy of the party, so that the party doesn't go astray. The party stays true to its principles and yet has embedded democracy. That's how it's structured. And it is, as I say, unique in British politics. And if I were to be Trumpian about it, I'd say it's beautiful.
I like that. Richard, have you got a question for Ben?
Well, I was just going to say, if you're going to be our Donald Trump, we're very happy to be talking to the Donald Trump of the UK, Ben.
Exactly,
that would certainly be a coup for this channel. But no, I mean, I've got a couple of questions. I think one of the questions is, if obviously you've set this target of getting 30,000 members, which is not a really very easy task. It is difficult to get 30,000 members, because I remember the days with UKIP in 2018. So if you don't hit that target, what do you do then? I mean, obviously it's a very negative sort of question, but it's a question I think is quite important.
So I'm trying to get to the bottom of the figures today, but it looks like we've got 4,500 new members today. I think we're in a very different political landscape to anything that UKIP has been in before. UKIP was a pioneer. It was working against the settled state of British politics, which was entirely a two-party system. Reform UK has achieved breaking that addiction to the two-party system. And I think people are now much more prepared and willing and desirous to look at other opportunities. So I hope we hit the 30,000. The way I chose that figure was because that was the membership number that Reform had at the beginning of last year's general election. And it won seats on the back of that. So I know it's a number that works from a ground game perspective, having campaign groups and leafleters, campaigners, people who knock on doors and so on. It works at that level, which is why I set it at that level. I also wanted a test, frankly, that my belief that a new political force is required. I wanted that tested by the people. I wanted the people to show me that they agree with me that a new political force is required. And if they show that to me, obviously, then, as you probably know, I'm going to donate a substantial amount of my wealth to the party to make sure that it's properly capitalized, stand shoulder to shoulder with those people who put the confidence in the party. But if we don't hit that 30,000, then obviously I will need to examine my navel and determine what we do next and why it is we didn't achieve it. Funny enough, Richard, I think, without wishing to tempt fate and without wishing to blot my copybook or sound arrogant, I think we're going to hit this target pretty quickly. Nothing to do with me as a persona or me, but I think people see that I hope that people see that the party is by the British people, for the British people, and they want true change. They want a party that really stands for the mission statement that we stand for. So I think we're going to get there, sooner rather than later, is what I believe.
Ben, that centre-right tent is a very, very big one. I mean, you've got Reform, UKIP, a lot of people talking about Nick Tanconi, UKIP, etc., and a number of other smaller parties. And then, of course, there's the massive United Kingdom cultural movement, which we'll come on to later. Is your aim to try and unite everyone within that tent? And if that's the case, what do we do, or what's your plans with regards to people like Nick Tanconi and UKIP? Would you encourage them to amalgamate with your party, or are you happy for them to carry on doing what they're doing? Is there a plan in place as far as that sort of thing is concerned?
So I think one of the other benefits of having a college and a large body of people which can accommodate lots of voices on our side of the debate is that people like Nick Tanconi can join our college. Obviously, they've got to go through due process, but they can join the college or they can join the party executive. They're most welcome. As I say, subject to due process, because it's very important that we build this party on proper foundations. But everyone is welcome. I've had discussions with Nick Tenconi, and if it wasn't for the fact I'm a businessman, Paul, and when you start out on a new venture, what you don't want to do, if you can avoid it, is pick up the problems of someone else's making over the years. UKIP is a very old party, so it's existed for a long time. It has its own legacy, both financially as well as reputationally and so on. And I just felt it was much better to start a new thing, which can't be dogged by the past. I didn't want to pick up issues. I wouldn't want to go into something, pick up issues and have to resolve them and be stuck in the weeds, distracted. This is a new venture. But if Nick Tenconi wishes to join, Lawrence Fox, I had some exchange with him this morning, if he wishes to join, if Tommy Robinson wishes to join, this is a party for the people, by the people.
Can we have Katie Hopkins? You and Katie sitting side by side.
I absolutely adore Katie Hopkins.
We all want Katie.
I had a meeting with Katie last week. Did I tell you? I met Katie last week, and sorry, go on.
No, I'll just say, Ben, you're sending shivers down a lot of people's spines right now. This is what we've been waiting for.
Can I just tell us what happened in the meeting with Katie? We're dying to know what happened in the meeting with Katie, Ben.
Well, what I'd always liked about Katie and is what I saw in the public domain, and she made me laugh. Batshit bonkers Britain. I mean, who wouldn't laugh at that in times which are so straitened? She made me laugh, and she's completely solid. She holds the line, and she's got no ego. You can see that in her public persona. But when I met her, of course, you can have a proper chat. And what I was blown away with was her deep intellect. She has a complete grasp of the entire British political landscape. She sees the flaws that we're facing, and she understands those flaws. And she is supremely pragmatic as well about how to navigate those and how to work to the kind of solution that we wish to have. She's really a first-class human being, if I may say so. I've only met her once, but I'm 60 years old now, and I've been around the track, and you can assess someone reasonably quickly. We met for about an hour and a half, and we discussed everything under the sun about politics. And I think she should be in frontline politics. She's a phenomenal force.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, Richard and I have both met Katie, and I would echo your comments.
Absolutely.
110%, if there is such a number. Ben, I've got to touch on this. This is huge this afternoon. Now, one of my questions to you today was going to be, do you think Elon Musk might consider throwing his hat in the ring with you? And then all of a sudden, boom, we get this. I mean, come on. That's 1904 that was posted. Elon Musk stole my thunder.
Well, so I have the great privilege of having had some interaction with Elon Musk, who, again, is supremely aware of the big issues that are threatening Western civilization. And he cares a great deal about the United Kingdom. He also sees through Farage, as we all know. And when Rupert Lowe was thrown out of Reform, I spoken to Elon in January, and he said, "Why don't you set up a new party?" And I went, "Oh God, do you know how difficult it is to set up a new party in the United Kingdom?" And he said, "No, come on, do it." He's an entrepreneur, right? So he was just saying, "Get on, do it." And I said, no, it's very challenging. It's very difficult, blah, blah, blah. I completely agree that ideally we need a new force, but it's very difficult. And then, of course, Rupert Lowe was thrown out. And that created, I think, an awareness in the electorate and the supporters of Reform that something's not right in Reform. And I think that created the opportunity for a new party. And I texted Elon, I DM'd him then, and said, I now come round to the fact that I come around to the view that I agree with you, Elon, we've got to do a new party. And he came back and he said, I would support that. And now, whether or not he supports AdvanceUK, yet to frankly be determined, even though he said bravo. He needs to understand where we are, what we're going to do. He needs to see that we can succeed. I think we need the British people. I really need the British people to come around me. But I think if that happens, I think, I will be, talking to him, I hope.
I mean, Ben, look, I've always believed that potentially we need some kind of delegation. I spoke about this months ago to meet, potentially travel to the US or meet with, our friends in the United States, the JD Vances, possibly even Donald Trump himself. Is that something that you would consider maybe leading in the future, Ben?
I think it's very important to do it. I think we need to evidence to them, Advance UK needs to evidence to them that they should see us, that, we've got to be able to show to them that not only do we possess the political philosophy required to save the country, we've got the support of the British people. So I think we've got to do some heavy lifting ourselves. We can't run off to Nurse and hope that Nurse is going to make everything right. We've got to stand up on our own 2 feet.
Well,
and
Ben, sorry, Ben, the truth of the matter is for a very long time now, everyone has been pointing their fingers at people like yourself, Richard, myself, and everyone else involved in social media going, we need some hope. We need something to support. Well, here it is. It's launched. This is your chance. No more moaning. The link to Advance UK is in the video description below. Here is the opportunity to finally grasp what you've wanted all along, please God. But carry on, Ben. Sorry.
Can I just dive in?
Yeah.
I think
Sure.
Just one thing, but I think what you've done, Paul's right. You've given us hope, and I think we are in the last chance saloon. When you look at what happened in Ballymena a few weeks ago, and how that could have spiraled out of control, and you look at what happened in England last year, we need a political solution, and that's why what you're doing is so important, and you've got to be totally commended. You don't have to do this. You could just go and sit on a beach or play golf all day, whatever you want to do. You're doing this. We've got to know you're doing this because you 100% believe in what you're doing, and we believe in you. I think, and that's not been sycophantic. That's just where I think we all stand, Ben. To be honest with you.
Well, that's very kind of you, Richard. I mean, I can absolutely confirm that I would like nothing more probably than to sit on a beach and play golf and relax. I'm 60 years old. My children have grown up. I've worked all my life. But I am absolutely petrified about what is coming to this country unless we get a grip of it. And I'm also equally committed, by the way, to resolving the very serious issues we face, but perhaps we're facing existential issues that would destroy our country. It would cease to exist. And I'm absolutely committed to addressing those threats in the best way possible. There's a knee-jerk reaction sometimes in politics to take draconian steps in order to address a problem that looks huge and insurmountable. And in taking draconian steps, you often destroy your ability to solve the problem. And I think what we're really lacking in British politics is people who are prepared to understand the symptoms of the problems. Lots of people see the symptoms. I get that. Farage sees the symptoms and he calls them out all day long. What we don't see often is in politics where people say, well, those are the symptoms. And now what are the underlying causes that are creating? What is the ailment that we're suffering? And what's the medicine that the organism needs to get rid of those ailments, to get not just to address the symptoms, but address the root causes of the problem. And we can go on chopping off the top of the weeds, but if we don't take it out from its roots, we will never solve the problem. And what I really hope to do through Advance UK is to establish this, intellectual ballast through the college and the party, political philosophy, which will not bend, but will also be very serious and restore the statesman-like sort of political governance that we had in this country. I don't want to be just, I'm going to speak frank. I don't want to be a shit disturber. I want to be a builder. I want to identify the issues and then deal with them, which is why I talk about nation state. If you really understand the nation state and democracy, and you address the root causes that are damaging our nation state and our democracy, you will automatically address our borders. You will automatically address the problems we have with mass migration and illegal migration, because in understanding what it is to be a nation state and what's caused our nation state to be so damaged, you will sort those problems out automatically. I don't need to be blasting from the rooftops lots of divisive language. I can do it through the roots. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it does.
Totally.
It does. Ben, I've got to ask you this. This is a big question that people are obviously going to be waiting for me to answer, and there's been literally dozens and dozens on this topic, but again, I've condensed it. Do you support Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom movement? And and would you potentially attend their super rally in September in London? And given recent events, do you believe that Tommy, Stephen Lennon, is due an unmitigated apology from the media?
Yeah, and many others. So just to say, there are two things at play, if I haven't already said this in this interview. There's Tommy Robinson, the individual, the human being, and there's Tommy Robinson, the political figure. Tommy Robinson, the political figure, must not be ostracized. Tommy Robinson, the political figure, has a right to be heard, and he's got a very powerful voice, and it shouldn't be muzzled by the state. That is where freedom of speech is absolutely, it's paramount that freedom of speech is preserved. And Tommy Robinson, the political figure, needs the support of all of us. And we've got to call out the state when we see the state targeting Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson, the individual, I don't know whether or not he's someone I'm going to love as a mate and have a beer with and break bread with. I don't know. I can't comment on that because I don't know. I've never met him. But I imagine we'd get on pretty damn well. And but that aside, if I'm invited to speak, or I think it's the 13th of September, I will speak. I'm not going to be shy of speaking to the British people. It's a legal congregation, a peaceful congregation of British people who wish to unite the kingdom. And I've talked incessantly about the union of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which is unite the kingdom. And if Farage thinks he's capable of sharing a stage with Mary Lou McDonald, my goodness, he should have no fear of sharing a stage with Tommy Robinson, should he? Exactly,
Ben, exactly. Well said. Richard, your thoughts?
Yeah, well,
any more questions?
I think if you met Tommy, you would get on, like a house on fire. Me and Paul both know him on a personal level, and he's a really nice guy. He's funny, he's intelligent, very like Katie in a lot of ways. So it would be good for you to meet him. Two more questions. First one, Richard Tice notoriously talked about the people that went to the Unite the Kingdom rallies, tens of thousands of people. He called us that lot. What do you think of that lot? That's the first question.
Well, the rules of my new political party the rules of membership were struck partly with Richard Tice's words ringing in my ear. And the rules are very simple. You just have to be a British citizen on the electoral roll and not a member of another party. And I don't care what you've tweeted before. I don't care what criminal record or otherwise you've got. It doesn't matter. If you have the right to vote, you have the right to join my party. We will not be policing our membership. Of course, our members sign up to our mission statement, our beliefs, our political philosophy when they become members. And that's what they're supporting. But I'm not endorsing every single damn member that joins up. They can have whatever views they wish to have. Yeah.
How could you endorse thousands and thousands of people? It's crazy.
It's crazy. And so what I find remarkable about Richard Tice's throwaway line, which is similar, by the way, to Keir Starmer brandishing all those that protested after the Southport killings as far right, is how could Richard Tice or Keir Starmer understand the nature of every individual that participated in the protests or went to the Unite the Kingdom march? They couldn't possibly know it. There may have been some bad eggs in there, but to categorize everyone in a negative way is, and again, if I may say so, this comes back to where I started this discussion. It's the shutting down of free speech. It's the shutting down of democracy. You can't say 100,000 people who congregate around Parliament Square are all awful. How is that consistent with free speech and democracy? Yeah. It's absolutely antithetical to it. And Richard should have known better. Farage should know better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well,
Ben, I mean, yeah, go on. Sorry, Richard, carry on.
Yeah, just the last one. And this is the big picture question. Let's say what we want to happen happens, and Advance win the next general election, because that's what we're playing for. We're not playing to be a lobbying group. We're playing to win an election. Advance win the next general election. You find yourself as Prime Minister. What does the next 10 years look like for the United Kingdom under an Advance government with a supermajority?
That would be a wonderful thing. I would have a superb cabinet, people who are absolutely expert in their respective fields, all of whom utterly believe in the mission statement of nation state, freedom of speech, equality under the law, and so on. And we would not rest for a moment until we had restored the United Kingdom to its former constitutional greatness, its former cultural integrity, because our culture has been so deeply damaged. And we become a nation where policies are made for the betterment of the country and the betterment of the people, irrespective of what the global order may wish to have. And it is going to be even if we get into government, it's going to be a painful process. There will be some economic pain we'll need to take to correct the course of action, the direction that the country's in. But we will explain it all to the people, and we will then hope that the people will follow us. What we won't do is tell the people what we think they want to hear in order to garner their support, and then do something completely different when we're in office. We're going to be very clear from the start. This is what we're going to do. And please vote for us if you believe in this agenda.
Ben, I know that you need to be away very, very quickly. I do have a number of questions for you that have come through here. Richard and I will deal with them after you've gone. I've still got some questions for you, but I know you have to be elsewhere.
No, go. I've got 5 minutes. Go. If you want to, unless you want to get rid of me, which is fine.
No. Absolutely. Ben, how would you protect the party from deliberate infiltration groups from the genuine far left and the far right? The entryism. How is there any way that you can deal with that?
Well, that's why I've got the college. So the members can be whoever they want to be, whoever they are. They can, if the far left want to try and infiltrate, great, give me your money, join up. But the college will be the intellectual ballast, the heart, soul, conscience of the party that will make sure that we don't deviate from our mission. And the members elect the college, but the members of the college get re-elected over a very protracted period of time. It's a very slow change in the college. You can't hijack the party overnight. It would take 15 years of concerted effort. And even then, I have a proviso in the constitution of the party, which allows the leadership to identify if there's a set of members or members who've just joined the party for malign influence, for malign intent. So there is a fail-safe, but actually I think the college would protect the party en route to, one thing I want to say is, even if I fail in my lifetime to deliver what's required to save the country, I hope that AdvanceUK, given its constitutional integrity as a party, can go on after I'm dead. It's not about me. It's about making sure this is a party of the people, by the people, for the people. I know that sounds quiche, but it is absolutely that case. We have to have a political party that is capable of going forward for years, championing the British cause.
You're creating a legacy, Ben. You're talking about creating a legacy for the British people.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope if there's anything I can leave, if it's a political party that can stay true to its principles and be brave and talk fearlessly for what needs to be done in order to save the country and to promote the country's interests, my goodness, I'll go to my grave, a happy man.
Absolutely. Let's have a little look here. One or two of the comments coming in. I know you got to go, Ben. I'm sorry, mate. Let's read this one out. Orion Basket, thank you. Given how Ben stood up to hope not hate, how fearful Farage is of them shows us who will stand for the UK. Go, Ben.
Thank you.
Richard, any final comments for?
I just want to, Ben, I want to thank you, because almost every interview you've done today, we've all been groupies, we've all been glued to the internet watching what's been going on. And but almost every interview you've given, you've championed Northern Ireland, you've championed Northern Ireland's eternal place, well, not eternal place, but a place in the union as long as we want to be in the union. You've pushed back against all the negativity about United Ireland. You push back against the protocol. So I want to personally thank you on behalf of all the people of Northern Ireland for doing that, because it's massively important to us.
And I'd like to finish with this. I met Ben roughly a year ago. When we first spoke, he was happy to meet me. Never met me before. We met in a Costa Coffee, I believe. We had a chat and we chewed things over. And ever since then, Ben has kept his word to the letter. To every single one of us, he has been a man of absolute and utter thorough integrity. He has never let any of us down. And Ben, I publicly say, as I've always said to you, as far as I'm concerned, you're our man and you have our support.
Well,
God bless you and good luck to you, Ben. You are a true man of the people, and that is rare.
Thank you for having me on. That's very kind of you.
Ben, we wish you all the best. Where are you off to next? If anyone wants to follow you now, what are you on next?
Times Radio, slightly different part of the political spectrum.
I mean, I'm expecting to turn on the TV, see an old edition of the old grey whistle test, and Ben's going to be on it.
Well, give Times Radio what for, Ben, and they deserve to be kept a little bit late.
Absolutely.
God bless you, Ben. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so
sorry
much.
about the delay.
Thank you soon.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ben. God bless.
Oh,
Brilliant.
dear. What a guy, Richard.
Brilliant.
What a guy.
Brilliant.
Look, let me just deal. Sorry, Richard. Let me just deal with some of the chat, because I'll tell you why. People have sent a few supers in tonight. They deserve to have those questions asked live in front of Ben.
Yep.
I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to do it. Ben is on massive time restraints. We had technical issues coming into the show. There are over 1,500 comments there, 3,500 people watching. It's been a nightmare for me personally tonight trying to deal with all that. But what a guy, Richard. What a guy.
Absolutely superb. I mean, it's just, I mean, obviously I've got a situation where I'm involved with UKIP, on the NEC, etc. But to be honest with you, what I've seen from Ben in the last 48 hours, I think there's only one thing I can do, and that's resign from UKIP and basically go over to Ben's new party and just, I think he's the only one that can save the country. I know that sounds very dramatic, but I genuinely believe that, Paul.
Well, Richard, there'll be some on
UKIP.
I was going to say there'll be some ardent UKIP supporters out there. And by the way, Nick has my full respect. He gets out there, he's on the front line.
Me too.
He does a very specific job. But what I've always said, can he become the next Prime Minister? The answer is no.
Listen, the bottom line is what we, and I messaged Ben and Nick today saying, look, if we do anything, we should get behind Ben. And I think there needs to be unity. I would love to see the SDP, UKIP, some of the smaller parties say, do you know what? Let's throw a lot in with Ben. Let's try and get on this, the executive or the college. And this is our chance to just say, let's just get totally behind one party, one man who can be Prime Minister. Nick Tinconi is not going to be Prime Minister of our country in 2029. Ben could be. That's the difference. And on the basis of that, I have to go with the party that has the policies that I believe in, because we've had the great blessing, Paul, of being with Ben along this route, right? Not knowing everything that's going on, but we know pretty much what his thinking is, and I know he thinks like I think. He thinks like a lot of people in UKIP think, and a lot of people in Reform who are being literally hemmed in by Mohammed Zia Youssef and Nigel Farage.
Well, it's time now, Richard. The time now has manifested itself where it really is time for everyone. And I'm not talking about any one person in particular now. I'm not talking about Nick. I'm not talking about anyone from any of the other parties. I'm talking about everyone. Everyone needs to be able to put their differences and their egos and their own agendas to one side and join, unite, and win this country back. That is the only way forward, and Ben Habib is our best chance.
Absolutely. And the thing is, Paul, I mean, you know, me leaving UKIP, I'm on the NEC, so it's a position of decision making in UKIP, and I'm going to give that up. I'll not have any position in advance, as far as I know. I'll just be a member. But the reality is, you know, I've got to go on what I feel is the right thing to do, and I think I've just got to do it. And I would love to see everybody in UKIP come with me, to be brutally honest with you, including Ben and Nick and all the rest of the people on the NEC, and just say, look, let's get behind this project and let's make it work. The same with the SDP.
And Ben is just
Rod Little.
Ben has just publicly opened his arms to Nick Tanconi.
Absolutely, he said, "Come on board."
And to Tommy and to Katie. I mean, Katie's an absolute must, right?
Yeah.
Goodyear has been
and again, he's got the measure of
Sorry, Richard. Goodyear's became
he's got the measure of Katie. I mean, when I met Katie,
absolutely,
I was,
I was so impressed with Katie. She was just just a lovely, lovely person. Let me get through some of these. Hi, Paul and Richard. I'm disappointed that Ben and Rupert couldn't have joined UKIP and worked together because reform is not the answer. Well, Philip, hopefully that can work in reverse. AJ Audits, Ben, will you join forces with Rupert and Nick Tanconi? I think this would be a good collaboration, especially with Tommy's support. Do you know what? I meant to mention Rupert, and it completely slipped my mind, but Rupert's launched his own thing today, which, we'll have to see what happens. I'm sure that Rupert and Ben will probably still be working together somewhere down the line, but, I mean, Elon Musk's tweet today is huge.
It's massive. It's massive, and I mean, this is what it's almost like all the planets are aligned. And like I say, I think if people don't get on board with this, they're going to miss out, from whatever, political, it'd be very easy for me to, say, no, I'm going to stay with UKIP. That would be the easy route. But to me, I think what Ben's got, he has got something that nobody else has got. And
there is. I want to give
all levels.
He has, Richard. And I want to pay UKIP and Nick and all their members a lot of respect, because they've been out there on the front line for a long time, doing their thing, and I have every respect for that. This is a different level as far as I'm concerned. This is what I've been waiting for. I don't want to be an activist, Richard. I want to be involved in politics, as in proper politics, the way forward, legally, safely, the best way for our people and for our kids. Andrew Westy, how would the party protect children regarding the curriculum and bring Christianity back to primary and secondary schools? Great question, Andrew. I'm sure that Ben would give you the answer you're waiting or that you'd like to hear.
Well, again, I mean, just from what I know of people that are working with the party, there is a massive amount of Christian influence in that party. I don't believe Ben claims to be a Christian, but there's a massive amount of Christians very close to Ben that are working with him. Again, I'm not privy to all the discussions, but I know that that's a fact, and that those ideas and principles. In fact, a lot of what Ben is basing his mission statement, etc., on is really stuff that you'd find in the pledge. So the pledge has kind of covered all that sort of stuff. And, when you look at what he's talking about, freedom, equality, democracy, sovereignty, all those sorts of things, we've already all honed in on.
Yeah. Marie, thank you for your messages. I'm going to ask Ben tomorrow to go through all of the chat, and anyone that's been missed out, hopefully, we can make that up to him in the future. Kenny says, pity we also have the SNP to contend with up here. My fear is a split vote between Reform and Advance could help SNP sneak in again in 2 years' time.
Okay,
JC,
can we, Paul? Can we comment on some of these things? Because I think it's good to basically sort of say. So, okay, 2 years' time in Scotland. I get that. the big prize is the general election in the United Kingdom, the whole of the United Kingdom in 2029, which is what was it? Is it 3 years now? 4 years? Whatever, 4 years. Okay. So 4 years, like people say a week's a long time in politics. 4 years is a massive amount of time in politics. I think we've got to give Ben as much space as he can get. And listen, the other thing is there will be mistakes made in this party. Without a shadow of a doubt, Ben will make mistakes. Anyone who's involved in the party will make mistakes. But we've got to give Ben the room to do what he has to do, which is build a political party that can actually take power and control and get control of what's happening in the United Kingdom, which is a massive job. So I think don't think about splitting the vote. Think about going, okay, which is the party that's most likely to represent what I believe credibly? And I think it's going to be Ben with Advance. Can't hear you, Paul.
I'd say don't think about splitting the vote. Think about building a vote. And very interesting to see that Ben agrees with me in the respect that I think it's important that he gets himself out to the United States as well. I think that would be massive.
Thing, Paul, and this is where we've got to pay. We've got to pay credit to what Nick Tinconi's doing in UKIP. I think there has to be a way of without. I don't want to see Advance doing the same activism that UKIP does, but there has to be a way of having lots of grassroots meetings with the working class people. That's really, really important. So that's something, again, we can talk to the people in Advance about as things progress, but I think that's really important.
Yeah. Philip Shepherd, I hope that Ben is telling us is going to work, because we are running out of options, and I hope Nick and other people join. I've joined today. Obviously, I hope that everyone joins. The video as a link below to Ben's new political party. I would hope that you would all join. Look, at the end of the day, I'm afraid it's going to cost 10 quid, but is it not worth the gamble? A tenner for your country? Is it worth
2 coffees?
Yeah.
2 coffees.
Yeah, exactly. 4,000 in one day. Crazy, yeah. The lefties are going to have a conundrum when they can't call us racist if Ben is the leader. Oh, they'll call him a racist.
Absolutely. Well, they probably will. They probably will, but
they'll call him all sorts of
things. So
you'll
have middle-class white people. You'll have middle-class white people calling Ben a racist. That's what you're going to have. That's crazy.
Let's have a little look. I mean, look, hundreds and hundreds of messages come through again tonight, Richard. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get through any of them. I've also got another meeting in 3 minutes' time, which I really need to be on. We'd planned for Ben to be on dead on 7. Unfortunately, there was a few technical issues. Thank you so much for everyone tonight. I know that Ben has done a lot of interviews today, but hopefully we asked him some questions that other people may not have been able to. What I hope we do, what I do hope we've been able to do, is bring you the genuine, honest face of Mr. Ben Habib, who truly wants to save this country and wants to do it properly. Please give me your support. Richard, your final views? Yeah,
I think it was an excellent interview, Paul. I'm very excited about this. Again, I have to back Ben. I can't, it's all my conscience to let me do. And I think this is the only chance. And I think it's going to, I believe that Ben is going to succeed. And not just Ben, it's going to be the whole mechanism. We can't just put it all on one man. That party is set up in such a way, it's not about one man, but we need one man to lead it. And there's no better man out there to lead it. And the things he said about Tommy were absolutely great as well. And I do think a meeting between Tommy and Ben has to happen. So that they can get to know each other and see how all that goes. And the thing
they might not get on, but I think they will.
No, they might not. They might not. I think they will. Knowing both of them, I think they will. But here's the thing, Paul. What people have got to understand from talking to Tommy and from talking to people very close to Tommy, he's not interested in being a politician yet. He's doing his journalism. He's trying to get all his lawfare out of the way. He's got far more things on his mind than worrying about joining a party. But from what Ben said, there is a place for Tommy at the table. And with Tommy's ability to galvanize the British working class public, any party that ignores Tommy is completely foolish. And I believe that's where reform will come unstuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Richard, brilliant to see you back on this show as well. Been a long
Yeah.
time.
Let's do it again soon.
Lovely to see you back, mate. I wish you well. Thanks for everyone for watching. Please give us an upvote before you go. I'd really appreciate it as well. And
Oh,
if you
sorry.
could, Counter Media.
Will you say yours? Yeah, Counter
I was going
Media.
to say,
Subscribe to
please
Counter
make sure
Media
you
on
subscribe to this channel and Counter Media over at Richard's. Thanks for everyone. Thanks to everyone. We'll see you again soon. Bloody hell, Richard! I tell you what, that was rust. It's baking hot in here tonight. It's about 120 degrees. I'm cooking up like a jacket potato. Woof. See you soon, mate.
Take it
God
easy,
bless
guys.
everyone.